Thank you, Kevin. That's beautiful here. So who's up first? Come on, don't be shy. While you're thinking and getting up your nerve, I just went online. This came through Inman, so I thought I'd just share it with you. I heard somebody give a class in the last week, Losing Bidding Wars. Well, we actually role played working with buyers and the script of how you as the agent can win in a multiple offer market, even if your buyers don't. And so I love that script. Anyway, I did it yesterday for CRS. Anyway, I saw this article. I found it kind of interesting that they're now giving you 10 strategies for victory. And some are common sense, some are actually pretty good. This one never hurt. I mean, this is common sense, although, you know, what goes around comes around. So I think it's worth saying. Number one, be respectful to the listing agent from the moment you book the showing. And you know what's interesting is that the longer I'm in real estate, generally speaking, the more experienced the agent is, the less ego sometimes they'll have. And I find that with maybe me as well, is that as I was gaining some success or whatever, and I know there's always a new crop of real estate agents coming, you know, behind me. And I always looked up when I was brand new to these experienced agents, these top producers or whatever. And I never did like the ones that kind of look down on you. And here's the thing is that I've learned, and I'm probably still in the oven cooking, is that the longer I'm in this, the more that I want to give back. And so being a little bit humble and polite may go a long ways, because when you get down to the nubs, and sometimes you can win by inches, and don't ever underestimate the power the other agent has over the influence of offers that are somewhat competitive. And personalities do matter. So anyway, be respectful to the listing agent. That's always helpful. Actually, I have number two is call the listing agent. I know you do. And just make sure your tone of voice is respectful. So that's good. Three, have the lender call the listing agent. Now that's an interesting one. I've never done that before. I don't know if you have or not. I'm just thinking right now, as busy as listing agents are, how that would be perceived. Maybe the lender could actually contact them via text or email. I don't know about a call. You guys can certainly pipe in there. And I guess that's to reassure the agent that your buyer is qualified. And number four, have the buyer submit a personalized letter. Not a new idea. I don't know if anyone's doing that right now. I mean, obviously it's probably kind of cool to do. Somebody said on the call I was on earlier in the week that actually just do a short little video of the buyers and present that. That can't hurt. I don't know if your buyers would be willing to do it. I'm all ears if you guys or anyone's doing this successfully to help basically in the close competition of your offer. Now, if your offer basically is like $30,000 off asking price, it can probably be a 4-hour documentary on the buyer's family tree, and I don't think it'd matter. Number five, and here we can talk about this again because I was waiting for this one. My favorite statement, use an escalation clause. And if you were on my call on Tuesday, we talked about this a little bit. As you know, I know that they're used. I'm not a fan of them. My wife's not a fan of them. I was talking to Christy Mock, and I shared this on the Tuesday call if you weren't on it. She shared something with me that I hadn't thought about before, is what if you are the listing agent, you have multiple offers and you have multiple escalation clauses? You almost need like that abacus or a slide rule to keep track of everything, right? So anyway, they're suggesting that, and you know where I stand on that, and many other agents, if that's what they're willing to pay, then they should go up to that. And I've come up with a question you can ask them, you know, so I'm talking to you, the buyer. Yes, we can use an escalation clause. Let's say it's listed at $350,000 and they're willing to go up to $360,000 in 500 increments. I would probably ask a question. Would you be happy with the house at 360? That's as high as you're going to go. And that will be a yes or no answer. And so then here's the thing. Are you willing to lose the house for a contract that's less than that? And they may say, well, what do you mean? Well, then you would explain the fact that there might be someone there explaining or not explaining the escalation clause properly. So again, pipe in there, give us some chat, or raise your hand if you want to, or unmic yourself and talk about any experience you've had, good, bad, or other, with escalation clauses. As you can tell, I'm not a big fan. So that's number 5, which is, was there a comment?
How would that work? How would that work, the escalation clause, like more or less, to have an idea?
Well, for example, if you had a listing listed for $350,000 and I submit an offer of $352,000, and my buyer is willing to go up $500 above your best offer. Now that's how many times how they're written. So if you get an offer for 353, my buyer will go 353.5. If you get an offer for 354, my buyer do 354.5. However, here's the challenge. The wording has to be the same. Are you going 500 above asking price, 500 above net? So is anyone on the call using escalation clauses in a successful fashion, or has anyone seen one maybe backfire? Any comments from a buyer's agent or a listing agent? I can tell you that, well, I already said my opinion. Does anybody have anything, any comment on that? And I see we do have one comment coming in here. I'd like help overcoming their apprehensions to buy now due to COVID-19 uncertainty. Fear of the future seems to make buyers sit on the side. Yeah, absolutely. We'll cover that. And Ken, thanks so much for that. So let me finish this list really fast. All right. So any comments on escalation clauses, good, bad, or ugly?
I have one comment, escalation.
Yes.
I never do more than or anything less than $1,000 increments to make it look better to that seller. I don't do 500. We go right to 1,000, and that seems to separate us a bit.
All right, and then what wording do you put in your escalation clause? $1,000 over what?
Over net. So some people, you know, they may have closing cost credit or whatever the case may be. So whatever the net to seller is, we're going to beat by 1,000.
Okay, so have you won with that escalation clause, Kevin?
I have.
Okay, have you lost with that escalation clause?
I have. Yes.
Well, I know nothing works all the time, right? Here's
Yeah.
the thing. Typically speaking, when you use the escalation clause, what is your offer? Is it asking price? And then that's question 1. Is are you offering full price plus an escalation clause?
So no, I don't like that at all. I do not like that strategy at all. We're already coming with a strong offer, usually in this market, 15 to 20,000 above asking, and then we're kicking the escalation clause in. When I get frustrated when agents do asking price and send an escalation clause. That's not really telling me anything.
Y'all listening, right? That's great feedback. So let me see. You're in Whitefish, Wisconsin, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, and then the escalation clause, you're 15 or 20 over, and you're talking about maybe a house at what, a $300,000 or so house?
Yeah, in the 3s. Yeah, for sure.
So you're going to be, 15 or 8% or so, 5 to 10% above asking price. Then how much more than above that is your limit on your escalation?
Usually it'll be another 10. About 10, maybe $12,000. So it's a solid offer. So yeah, at least 10 higher, but they want to see what the other competition does sometimes. And I feel if you're already coming in strong and you use the escalation, you have a better chance of winning.
So this is a similar role play. If you were on the call Tuesday, then we've got a lot more people on the call here that weren't on Tuesday. So let me just role play this with you. So if I'm a listing agent, and generally I am versus a buyer's agent, and you have an offer coming in, my listing's at 350, you come in at 365, and you're willing to go 10 over, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
$1,000 increments. So what would you do as an agent if I called you back, Kevin, and said this? Kevin, I understand. I got your offer here. I understand it. You're 365 with escalation up to 10. My seller's countering you at 375. All the other terms are acceptable.
I would go to my buyer and we would be signing.
Now wait a minute.
They want it bad here. I mean, some of these were going against 15, 20 other people.
Okay, so let me ask you. So is your buyer going to ask you, was there another offer at 369?
They may, and let me flip it on you real quick. As the listing agent, I have when you know what they're willing to do, I'll counter that offer. I'll make it a little bit lower than what the escalation clause would go to, and I'll in the counter offer, I'll remove the escalation so nothing had to trigger it to that amount. So I know that's a little bit different than what we're talking about, but I wanted to put that in there.
That's an interesting thought, you guys. And so what it does is take away the buyer thinking, oh, I knew I shouldn't have put in that escalation clause. The seller took me right, elevator right up to that number. He's actually masking that a little bit. Instead of going up to 370, let's say the seller counters at 368. And, you know, if a seller wants to do that and this is the best offer, that's okay. Here's the thing I want to get across to you guys as listing agents. And I really think this is an important thing to do. Is go ahead and counter. If you're going to use, if somebody gives you an escalation clause, go all the way up to that escalation clause on a counter, because when you counter it, you don't have to have. Now, let me ask you the question, because I teach questions, right? Do you have to have another offer in order to trigger the escalation clause in order for you to give them a counter? No. And that answer is a big fat no. I mean, you can counter any offer with or without an escalation clause. I'm just saying if you want to get the best for your seller, and you have multiple offers, you got to be careful. Sometimes I know sellers can get greedy and end up losing. Not many are losing in this market though. Just go ahead and counter. And so basically, and then the agent's going to ask you, do you have another offer at 369? Going back to the same thing, because Kevin's offer is plus 1,000. And here's what's the script. What would you say? I'm the buyer, Kevin. Is there another offer at 369?
Well, it has not been revealed to us yet, but the seller and the agent liked other aspects of our offer, and you have a chance to get this wrapped up right now. How would you feel if you went to bed tonight and you knew you had this property under contract and going on with the next stage of your life?
And here's the thing, and that's a great script. The bottom line, it doesn't matter. Because if I'm the listing agent, I'm going to go to you, Kevin. Kevin, the seller has agreed to counter your offer first. It's 370. The rest of the terms are okay. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Generally speaking, does it really matter? I mean, if you ask me if there's another offer, I'm going to say it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm not at liberty to really disclose that, nor do I have to disclose that. This is a counter, and we're going to you first. If it's not acceptable to your buyers, watch this. It's a takeaway. No worries. I'll go to buyer two. Now we're in a market we can do that right now, guys. That should be like a light bulb should be going off in some of you guys, not that are getting escalation clauses and then basically only taking the escalation clause up to $500 or $1,000 over the other offer. Take it all the way up. Any discussion on that?
Well, the only thing is our example we just had is, you know, we're talking at least 10% over ask price, and appraisals definitely play a big factor there. Obviously, that knocks out anybody that may have a FHA or VA loan, most likely. So you're looking at either conventional or cash purchases only, but that's still quite a bit additional funds to show. Either you're going to have to get an adjustment if you can on your approval amount, or show they can have the cash to back up that escalation.
Yes, yeah, and what Al, you were on the call on Tuesday. For those who don't know it, when you use your escalation, you go up to 10% above, correct?
Myself? No, I use $1,000 increment.
Okay. Do you like the idea? And again, I don't really. I mean, I'm not attached to the outcome. You're guaranteed. All right. So do you agree with the fact that your buyers are better off to go all the way up to the number instead of incrementally do an escalation clause? Do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
I mean, there's a better chance they're going to get the house, right? Yeah. And so my question is, and again, I'm not attached to the outcome. I'm just curious. Help me understand why you would use an escalation clause if you want to increase the odds of them getting the house. The escalation clause is just minimizes how much they may have to pay. However, it increases the odds of them not getting the house. Any comments on that?
No, I agree with you, Denny. I'm just saying what I've done in the past.
I got it.
Going forward, I absolutely agree with you, because escalation clauses used to be the exception. Now they're very common. And
It'll come back whether they're going to be the exception again. So got it. Anyway, thank you.
Yeah, last time I did it was online with my insurance.
Oh, okay, it was a mail order.
Yeah, I did it.
Okay, got it.
Hey, Rob, mute yourself, Rob. Unless you're talking to me. Are you talking to me? Don't think so. Okay. Number 6, common sense stuff. Make the inspection shorter period of time, right? And then 7, submit a higher escrow deposit. Common sense. 8, let the listing agent know you're open to collaboration. Well, this is a puzzling one to me. The seller might be hung up on one part of the contract, so knowing that your clients are willing to reach a compromise helps. Yeah, I think that's kind of noted. Write an email about your process. I've never heard this before. However, if you have a slick closing process, again, this might be something that you put in there. Last thing you said is be organized. So I guess if you go in there, don't have all your papers organized, that's not going to instill a lot of confidence in them. So that came out. Also came out in one of our calls, in which I thought was a good idea, is that, hey, listen, when you submit the contract, call the other agent. What I would do, and you find out when the sellers want to be out, or maybe leave the non-consequential, the less important blanks in the contract blank. Just have the sellers fill in closing date, have the sellers fill in inspection period, have the sellers fill in escrow. I mean, holy cow, in this market, and I've never seen this. You guys heard me say this before. This is kind of a goat market, greatest of all times. I have never seen a rational market this strong. I've seen irrational markets this strong. This one's still rational. So I had some, anything else? I got one person here that's would like to role play, Ken. I'd like to help buyers overcome their apprehensions to buy now due to COVID-19 uncertainty. So Ken, are you in a quiet spot? Can you role play with me?
Sure, absolutely.
Awesome. So here we go. As you know, what's the first step? What's the first step, groupies, on basically handling the objection? They're always going to be the same. We love to use questions. What's the first step? Kevin, Jim, you know what it is. What is it?
Do you feel the market is moving towards you or away from you?
Oh, I love that. You got the meat thermometer. That's the first script. However, the process is going to be acknowledge, isolate, answer, and then ask for the close. So, all right. So let's start that. All right. So Ken, you be the buyer, and so I'll start it off, and then I'll start off with the meat thermometer. So let me ask you a question, Ken. What is your concern about moving forward in today's market?
Well, Denny, as I told you, I want to buy an investment property, a few condos on the beach, and I'd like to rent them out. So this is strictly an investment situation. And I'm very concerned about COVID-19 difficulties. Basically, the border is closed for Canadians coming down and driving down and being snowbirds. So I see potential problems with income. And I don't see your market going down in price. If anything, I think the sellers have inflated it in the last 6 months. I don't even think they would appraise out. It's a very uncertain market. And I think I'm just going to sit on the side and wait.
I love that. Normally when we do the role play, somebody says, yeah, we have to kind of like isolate, right? And so other than that, how many things did he give us in that little speech right there? It's probably like 5 or 6 different concerns, right? And so, and it's very real, Ken, what you just said. So, and you were saying it so fast I couldn't write them all down. So in a role play situation, so it sounds like, let me ask you this, Ken, is there any, I'm actually don't even know where to go yet with him because he just gave me a bunch of different things. So I'm going to attempt another way around the mountain. So Ken, we're having a discussion why are you even looking in a market you think it'd be an awful market to buy in?
Well, I'm not saying it's awful, but I believe that due to the uncertainties, I would consider buying an investment property in Southwest Florida if you could get me a good deal.
Okay. So other than now he's settled down a little bit. The questions got him to settle down. Now I'm going to see if I can't peel the onion. Now he says if he can get a good deal. Now, when he said that, what happened to the other like 18 different things he gave me? COVID, da, 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 da. Now, again, I think we should be preparing ourselves, you guys, as this market moves forward, particularly if it shows any signs of cracks. Buyers, particularly investors, are going to what? They're not going to accelerate into the market. They're going to pull back. In fact, some of the investors, maybe the shrewdest, we'll find out later if they're right or wrong, are actually selling now, going to cash, waiting for the correction. And so I think maybe one of the most challenging buyers to work with in this market is someone who does not have to move, where timing is not important. So, you know, the market's white hot for sellers, and, you know, and it's causing headaches, you know, for buyers. So when you say and I've got a script for you, and, you know, and the meat thermometer script doesn't really, well, it can apply, and I'm gonna give it. So let me ask you, and there's no right or wrong question here, based on your position as a buyer, particularly a buyer coming from Canada, you think the market's working in your favor or working against you?
Well, as an investor, I think it's working against me. There's all kinds of challenges that if I put someone in there as an annual tenant, I can't evict them if they don't pay the rent. There's just lots of things happening there that are kind of making me sit on the side. But as I said to you, Denny, if I could get a good deal, that would motivate me.
Now, you notice something. Now, I don't know if Ken is doing this on purpose or not. However, buyers are actually being exactly the way they're thinking. I want you to always have your ears open. Remember, it's question-based, listening enhanced. That's the second time he said, good deal. So are you saying if you get a good deal, you'd be able to move forward in this marketplace?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, awesome. Now, all right. So now we're at the threshold. Now, again, I'm going to ask you guys, and there's more than one right answer here. I'm just wondering, now you're playing this chess match with me. You're standing over my shoulder. You're watching the chessboard. Now I've got someone who will say yes. Now, realistically, everyone in the world would say yes if they got a good deal. A good deal could be buy one, get three free. Good deal could be 10% off market value. I don't know. So what's your next question? What question would you love to have answered? So whatever question you have, ask him, and let's see where it goes.
What do you constitute a good deal?
Good question. Did you hear it, Ken?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I would like to buy a few of these condos on the beach back when the price levels were just before COVID, let's say in January, because right now the higher price levels are only being supported by low inventory. And I think that's a false support level. So a good deal would be probably about 8 to 10% under what I see the asking prices to be.
All right. Now, are we talking to a buyer that basically, and most of the investors, unless they just watch one episode of HGTV, are going to be pretty sharp. He's speaking like he knows what he's talking about, right? What's the next question?
If I can find you a property at 8% below the market, you're saying you would buy now?
That's correct. I absolutely would. I want to go back to the price levels of January pre-COVID.
Okay. So, all right. So you asked the closing question, which is great, Jim. And you know, maybe this is where you can say, okay, so if I can find you that, would you be willing to allow me to work with me exclusively, Ken?
Oh, absolutely.
So now you're getting a buyer listing. So that's how you do it. Again, when people give you an objection, and he gave a whole bunch of them, here's the thing: if you can solve their problem, make sure then you answer or solve their problem and close. Don't just solve their problem. So now we have a buyer listing. Now what? Now where he's willing to commit to a buyer's agreement with you right now.
Denny, I stepped away for a moment. Did he say what his time frame was? If how much money he had available, how quickly he could close on something?
Not yet. So that was a great question, Mark. So Ken?
Well, I'm in a position, fortunately, to be able to buy cash, and I'm in a position to pull the plug and sign a contract within the next week or two. I think I could come up with the money faster than you could find me that good deal.
Well, that's a flat fact. All right, good. Come on, where are we going? Keep going. You've got
Have
a
we
buy.
talked about what his return on investment is he's expecting? What sort of cash flow, or is he willing to carry a property if it doesn't lease?
Well, I think his motivation, no, and that would be a decent question to ask. And I think Ken he said he's evaluating, according to what he said, 8%. He wants to go back to January's numbers, which are about 8% or so, or 10% below what they are right now. And he was pretty specific if he walked away on condos on the beach, et cetera. So,
Yeah, that part I got, but I'm concerned that if the short-term rental market is shut down again, is he going to be able to carry the property?
okay. I would see, that's interesting. I think it's cash, so he would be able to carry it. So you can ask him. Ken?
Go ahead, Mark, ask me.
Sorry, I muted because there's some background noise here. So Ken, if we're able to close in this property, are you depending on the rental income in order to meet your expenses?
Not necessarily, because the possibility does exist that these prices will not soften and they may stay at this level. So I could have some appreciation providing you could get me these condos at January pre-COVID prices.
Okay, it's good. I'm waiting for someone to turn the corner.
Ken,
Yes,
you mentioned that you're interested in some condos on the beach. Are you talking about right on the beach, a view of the beach? Describe to me what you envision as being beach condos and what size.
All right, hang on. You don't have to answer. We could go into all kinds of discovery. I want to see if you're going to take him in a different direction. What direction might that be? Because these are all great questions. However, and let me ask you guys a policy. So Ken, you're not in this anymore. You're like, I'm freezing you. I'm talking to the agents. What's the probability we're going to find something? I mean, anything's possible. What's the probability we're going to find something 8 to 10% below today's market value? Good or high or low?
Low.
And if we did, would we not have a whole bunch of people to call that would probably buy it?
Yes.
So what question where would you want to take him? Because he has his theory about what the market's going to do. Are there other theories about it?
I can be off basis, but last night I was on Brevity Happy Hour and we discussed this investment piece, and we got into cap rate and net operating expenses. So if you could turn it around of how much the operating expenses would be versus today's market rate of rent, then you can justify the price as a good value.
No, that's a very ingenious, that's a really ingenious way of looking at it, because really if you get more in rent and you look at the cap rate, does the price really matter? So what would be the question, William?
What type of cap rate are you looking to receive?
Or what's more important, how much you buy it below listing, the list price or market price, or higher, or the best cap rate? So Ken?
well, let me just say this. Denny, I think you really need to give me a closer study of what the rents are. Have the rents gone up proportionally with the values since January? If they have, then I'm not going to be as tough on the price being 10% below what they're asking now. I might split it in the middle, because this whole investment for me is driven by net income, return on investment, and starts out with gross rental income. If it's higher, then I'm more flexible.
This is where, and then we'll do a residential version here in a second, of a buyer being on the fence. Let me just say where mine was going. That's all excellent lines of questioning. And I would probably say, Ken, do you think there are a lot of people that would like to be buying condos on the beach at maybe 8 or 10% off today's value?
Oh, I'm sure there are.
Right. And so if there are a lot of people that want to buy condos on the beach at 8 or 10% below, if we find a seller like that, what do you think might happen when that property comes on the market?
There could be multiple offers.
And what might that price be bid up to?
Could go another 10% up or higher. We don't know that.
Right. And do you think there's been people, investors, and you've been, obviously you're shrewd, that have always wanted to buy property 10% above, below the current value?
Absolutely.
And for the last 10 years, our prices have gone up. They've never retracted. Would it have been a good move for them to make the investment 10 years ago instead of waiting for something to happen that never will or never has?
That's a very good point. You never get into the game at all if you wait.
And so what if your theory, is it possible that your theory could be wrong? I mean, a lot could happen. I mean, we got presidential elections, we got, vaccines coming out for COVID. Is it possible there could be another 2, 3, 5, 10-year run on property, particularly on what? The beach? Are they making any more beach property?
No, I think that's a valid point. There's the possibility certainly does exist. And that's kind of inherent to the risk I'm willing to take.
I got that. So again, there's more than one way to play chess match. What I think the model we follow, and he's very articulate, and these are the easier people to deal with. They're more cerebral than emotional, is to take them into pain. What if this time next year the condo on the beach there's nothing available at 10% below? Now they're up another 15%. Then what? So, any
Are
other
we
thoughts?
only looking at on that particular beach, or is he looking at in other cities as well?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Investors may not have to be specific; they're not geographically located. So
if I could find you a property in another area, would you consider that, or are you locked into this area?
No, Mark, I'm basically locked into Naples and Marco Island in Southwest Florida.
Awesome. So let's talk about who would like to be who works with buyers right now that are a little bit afraid. Ken, you work from the investor standpoint. He's got a great question here, and I don't know if anyone wants to role play this. I'd like to help buyers overcome their apprehension to buy now due to COVID-19, and let's make this a residential user, not an investor. Are you still running into that? And if not, we won't deal with it. Or maybe are you running into that from a seller standpoint? And if you're not, we won't. We'll go on to something else.
I guess I need to know how financially secure they are.
Okay. So what am I doing here? I'm going to see if I can't share a screen here because, hey, you guys, could you let me share a screen here? Please make me a host. Well, let's find out, Mark, if anyone's dealing with that. If not, we can go into something else. Anybody dealing with buyers hesitant right now because of COVID? Is COVID even an issue for what you're dealing with right now? I just have a sense, and I'm asking right now, that maybe that's a minimal concern today.
For some of my client buyers, they're unwilling to travel at the moment. So it's a sort of, I anticipate that once travel is eased a bit, that we will see a bump up in activity even more so.
I think it's a good point. I went online today, you guys, and just thought, okay, I want to see what the internet's saying. And I Googled top objections. And what's interesting is, and this came from Mike Ferry, which y'all are familiar with. He has some awesome scripts. And let's see if I can share a screen right now. Yeah. So here we go. It would be PowerPoint. I think this is it. Let's see. I put the top ones up here. Rid of that. This is always a little finicky. I don't know why I've got multiple ones up. Here we go. I'm wondering, can you guys, well, let's just forget about the screen share. It's not working. Do you guys deal, the number one objection came up. I have to keep my promise to my previous agent or the friend I have in the business. This is not a new objection. We've covered it before. Are you getting that one? The next top one was, you're too busy. Now this might be one. You're too busy. I see your name everywhere. I want to work with an agent that'll have a little bit more time for me. That was number 3. And number 4 is similar to what we're seeing a lot around the country, is I can't sell because I don't know where I'm going to go and I don't want to be homeless.
Oh, I just dealt with that.
You did?
Oh yeah, I picked up an expired. It was on the market over 400 days and it was kind of a unique property and the sellers swore it wouldn't sell. I had them an offer within 3 weeks and then they wouldn't sign it because they hadn't found anything they wanted to buy. So I had to talk them down off the ledge and then we went out together on Saturday. They still hadn't bought it or signed it, I mean, and we had gone out on Saturday. They found a place they loved and then I had to go back to the other agent and essentially beg them to bring their buyer back. But eventually we got it done, so it's fancy footwork.
So what would you do? How would you handle that differently if you have a seller that really, they want to buy, they can't buy until they sell, and they don't want to sell because they don't know what they're going to buy?
I tried to tell them that the people buying the house, their house, were flexible with closing, that we could push the date out until like December, that we were going to find them something, and that the guy who was buying their house was buying it as a second home, and that if worse came to worse, we might even be able to work out where he rented them the home through the colder months and then we were bound to find them something by spring. But I swear to Denny, they were a 10 when it came to objections. Maybe 11.
That's good practice. So why don't you be them? And this would be a good one. So can you be them for a moment?
I can try.
And then you guys, we'll have a little tag team here. Follow my line of questioning on, and whoever wants to take over can. So we're meeting with right now. So understand. So you want to sell your house, right, Christina?
Yes.
And
I'm super motivated.
Awesome. And you've elected to hire me to help you get your home sold, so we don't have to go through that part, right?
Yep. Already got the listing.
You got the listing. Awesome. So, well, you don't have it signed yet. I mean, so are you ready to get, so just be the buyer or the seller. Are you ready to put your home on the market today, Christina?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. And I thought they said they wouldn't sign the listing agreement until you were out selling the property.
Oh, no. We got them under contract for the listing. They didn't want to sign the contract for the buyer buying their home because they were afraid that their house would sell and they would have nowhere to live. Okay, well, here's what I'm going to give you. This is a bonus for everyone. This is going to be a third-party story. So next time you're meeting with a seller that has this concern, I want you to share Christina's story, because this is the market we're in, big time. When you have a seller, just imagine, and I'm going to change your profile just a little bit, Christina. Now you're the seller who won't sign the listing agreement because you don't know what you're going to buy. Okay. So, and so let me ask you, when you sell this house, what's next for you? We want to be able to sell our house. We own it outright. We want to be able to buy something that's less expensive and pay cash because my husband is 60 and he doesn't want to work for the rest of his life. Huh. I'm still working. I'm over that. So, all right. So I'm going to I'm not going to dig on motivation because you know how to do that. And I say, well, let me ask you, I'm going to give you the meat thermometer. So, hey, as a seller right now, let me ask you a question. There's no right or wrong. Do you think the market's working in your favor or working against you? We have a unique property, and these kinds of properties seem to be selling really well right now. So I think the market is working for me. Awesome. So let me ask you, do you have to sell this house in order to buy a house? Yes. Yes. Okay. So have you thought about in terms of how are we going to get from this house to the next house? Well, I'm hoping, even though the last agent failed miserably at selling my home, that you're going to do a better job and get my home sold for me quickly.
All right, so let's assume that we do that. I have an offer on your house that it's acceptable to you, and I'll have it here on, let's see, today is what? I'll have it on Saturday. Will you be ready to move forward with that offer?
Well, gee, Denny, we have only just begun looking at other houses. There was one that we liked and we were interested in, but that one already went under contract
Why didn't you buy it?
because I don't want to have a mortgage. I want to be able to buy my house by selling my house.
I got it. So for clarity's sakes, right now you are actually in this order, a seller, then you become a buyer, right?
Correct.
And you saw the house you really liked, you just couldn't buy it because what? You're a seller.
I didn't have my house sold.
So when I bring you an offer on Saturday that's acceptable to you, what will you do?
Well, I know what a rational person would do, but my sellers
Oh, no, you
absolutely panicked.
can't go there. You got to be the seller. I'm going to tell you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to be very nervous and anxious because I've been looking around. I haven't seen anything else that I like, and I don't want to have nowhere to live.
Now, here's where the story comes in that Christina was just telling you. Well, Christina, here's, I mean, obviously you can't buy until you sell, and you can't sell until you put it on the market, right? So how would you like to have your cake and eat it too?
Sounds good to me.
I was online the other day on this webinar, and this other agent was telling a story that the seller was in the same situation as you, and what they were able to do, because we're in a great seller's market, just like you said, is find a buyer that was willing to buy their house at the price that they wanted, and they gave them time to stay there until they found another house.
Okay.
Now, if we can do that, would you be ready to move forward with the offer I bring you on Saturday?
Well, I guess, but I'm telling you, we've been looking around. All the houses we see are much more money than we want to spend, and they're not as in good condition as we'd like. And we're super, super nervous about this being where we can sell and buy at the same time. My family has us all anxious about how we're going to sell our home and we're going to have nowhere to live and we're going to be making the biggest mistake of our lives.
All right, I'm tagging. Who's next? Who wants to take over?
So it's Christina, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Christina, if we were able to negotiate in the offer that you'd have 30 days to find another home, and if you didn't find another home in the 30 days, you could have a right to terminate the contract, would that make it easier for you?
But I really want to sell my home. I don't want to live here anymore.
No. I'm saying if you accepted an offer with the right to give you 30 days to find another home, and in the 30 days, if you can't find something, you get to stay in your home and terminate the contract.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I really want to sell my home. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to buy something else because I just have a limited budget and I have an idea of what I want to buy. And right now it isn't out there. And when it is, it goes under contract before I can get in to even look at it.
I understand now. So Christina, if your home doesn't sell, it's been on the market for a while. If it doesn't sell, what is your plan B?
I want out of this house. You're the agent I'm picking. My last realtor was terrible. I have high expectations for you. I expect you to sell my house.
So if we bring you an offer on Saturday that meets all of your terms and conditions, then I've essentially sold your house. Are you willing to sign it?
Well, I don't know. We'd have to think about it for a few days. We'd have to really weigh the pros and cons and talk to family and make sure we're making the right choice.
So Christina, if I had the offer in hand today, could you start that process with your family today?
Yes.
So that when we get the offer on Saturday, you'll be clear about what your answer is.
Now that right there is hang on, this is an instant replay. Y'all see that? He brought the future forward. He's pretending like the offer's in hand so they can have those conversations ahead of time. And that was a brilliant move. So that basically, I'd spike the football on that one, Mark. Go on, keep going. I like what you're doing. Because, all right, so go ahead, keep going. Bring Lassie home, land the plane.
So Christina, why don't we do this? Why don't we focus on finding you a property that you can buy so that you're able to make the decision to move forward when the offer on your home comes in.
That sounds good.
Now you lost me there. How are you going to do that?
And I have to get proactive and find a property
Well,
for her.
You're going to find it, and what's going to happen?
I'm not going to be able to make an offer because I need my house sold. I don't have money unless I sell my house.
Right. All right, great job, Mark. Great questions.
So-
anyone want to land the plane? We got a few more minutes here, and before we go on to the
Could
last
she
one.
lease in the interim period? If she had a contract that was acceptable, could she lease something in the short term?
We live in an extremely rural area where her house is. It would be difficult unless she could lease back the house she lives in now, but she wouldn't want to lease it for a ton of money because they need to keep all the money that they're getting for their house to buy a new house.
So, Mark, here's the thing. Good job. There's a lot of questions, bazillion questions you could ask. Here's the thing is that I want you guys to learn the art of putting them in pain. Can you put her in pain, Mark? What is the pain? She said it a couple different times. What is her pain?
Losing out on the house she wants to get.
Nice. I don't think that's her pain.
My pain is being stuck in this
Stuck
house I
there.
don't want
Yes.
to live in anymore.
That's her pain. So an example would be, well, here's the thing. I see two choices here. Don't sell or sell. Then we worry about buying. You either can stay there or we can sell it and then we can help you find something. What do you want to do?
I did this with her and she wouldn't choose door A or door B. She refused to make a choice.
Well, no, she's not. She didn't. No, she made a choice. What was her choice?
We went out on Saturday and found a house that she wanted to buy, and then she was willing to accept the offer after the buyer had already walked away.
And how were you able to secure that house that she liked when you were contingent?
How did I secure the house she liked? I didn't until I was able to get the buyer to come back to her house. I had to, basically when the buyer walked away, I explained the situation, that they were anxious, that they were unsure what they were going to do, that they weren't able to find a home to move to, and that if moving forward, I was going to sit down with them and talk to them, and hopefully I could make them understand the situation. And we were going out on Saturday to look at homes. I appreciated the other agent and their buyer's patience, and that if anything changed in the next few days, I would reach out to them, and she was okay with that.
Okay, time out. Let me ask you this question. The house they liked, they put an offer on. How long had it been on the market?
About 5 days.
Well, one is, I think you got lucky. Secondly, that there's still why would that seller have accepted that? Well, here's the thing. Were there other offers?
For the house we were selling?
No, the house that she wanted to buy. Were there other offers?
Not that I'm aware of.
Bingo. Bingo. All right, so what's the moral of the story here, guys? When you've got a seller that's setting up such high impossible standards, they're going to have to settle for something that's not a screaming deal. If that house would have been a screaming deal, what would have happened already?
It would be gone.
Therefore, Therefore, you have to let sellers know, or even people that want to buy stuff under asking price, you have to let them know, I can help you with that. However, we're going to have to change tactics. We're going to have to quit looking for the best homes. You know why the best homes sell first, right? Because they're the best. We're going to have to go with the homes that have been a little bit stale on the market because the sellers are asking too much. Now, we can probably get you, if you want to pay under asking price, we could probably get one of those. And here's the thing, if you want a seller to accept a contingency on the sale of your home, we can do that as well. However, we're going to have to leave out the best homes, and we're going to have to look in the dented can bin. That's a lot to say. Y'all getting me on that?
Yep.
If they don't put themselves into the buyer role, ready to compete in the world's, the Super Bowl market, right? In the professional realm, you're going to have to take them into another realm. And that's the homes that have been on the market a while, the dent can bin. So, I mean, that's what I had the same thing happen with one of my friends. I turned it over to my team, and the wife was very concerned about selling before she went somewhere. And I said, look, we're going to have to look in the not so desirable properties, not the best deals out there. There was one more avenue they had to go. And you know what worked? And here's the other avenue. You guys can have this in the back of your mind. If you have new construction, many times a builder will give a seller a little bit of time, even in this market, if they have like maybe a little bit of inventory. The builder might work with them. And we found the builder that did. So then we're able to get their home sold in a couple of days. However, I want you to always be willing to take the customer to pain. All right. I learned this from Howard Britton a long time ago. Well, if they don't want to price a home to sell, then Christine, I guess you'll have to stay. Well, I can't stay. I don't want to stay here. Okay. Then we're going to have to capitulate to the market and price it to sell. Well, I don't want to price it to sell. Okay. Well, then you're going to have to stay. It's that simple. I mean, if you're on the couch and you're really hungry, you either have to get up, to go to the refrigerator and get something to eat. Well, I don't want to get up. Well, then stay there and be hungry. I mean, it's, if you understand the transaction to that level, they can't have it both ways. Then you just stay there, Christine. I hate this house. Okay, then let's sell it. Well, I got to find something, well, you can't buy until you're a buyer. You're a seller. So anything you want to say to clear that out?
Oh, I'm just thankful that in the end she came around, because I mean, I've had difficult clients, but like I said, this one was like Spinal Tap. She had it turned up to 11, and it was like every option was a no. And I'm like, honey, you got to say yes somewhere.
Yeah. Well, again, congratulations. I trust that'll hold together, because if it doesn't, you're going to have the problem all the way back in your lap again.
I don't want that. Oh, please let it stay the way it is.
Where are you? Where are you?
I'm in the middle of Pennsylvania.
Okay. Poconos?
Oh, no. We're in the middle, like Northumberland County is where I work mostly. But this property is like out in the boonies.
Got it. All right, guys. Well, we got a few minutes here. Any ahas, any last minute comments? Next Thursday, I'm going to be traveling. I'm actually going to be up near you, Christina.
Nice.
We're going to be in West Virginia at the Greenbrier. And so next Thursday, there won't be a call. There will be one on Tuesday. And anything, you guys, any ahas in this? Go, you can type them in or come off mic. Say something. Awesome class. Thank you so much, Nicole. I didn't get your answer. Yeah, Mark, yeah, she's giving you props, Mark. Nice job. Kevin, Christina. Anybody else? Share a little love.
Good job, Benny. Good mixing it up with you again.
Yeah, I'm going to let Krista know you're on the call. She'll be impressed.
Let me just say one quick thing about the last situation. I had the same thing, and it sounded very familiar. They had a house, and the house they were selling was in a neighborhood where things were going fast. They were in a good financial position. So what I did with them, and it didn't require a whole lot of scripts, I was like, let's get your house ready to market. We'll get the pictures. We'll build the listing. Let's go look for the house you want to buy. Let's get it under contract. Then the next day we're going live with your property and we'll arrange the proper timelines. And that's what we did. We went and found them a house that week. They wrote an offer, got it accepted, and I went live the next day with their home, timed it. Everybody's happy and in their new homes.
Well, that's awesome. And I encourage you guys, last thing, good job, Kevin, on that. Congratulations. I encourage you guys to take advantage of this market because it will not last forever. You can make calls to, your potential sellers and call it a jackpot market. Do that. And you know what? They'll never forget you made the call. There's a higher percentage of yeses going on in the marketplace right now when you call and say, hey, listen, would you like to know how well you could do in this jackpot market? You're going to have more conversations and you're going to pull in some of those shadow sellers off the fence. Have an awesome day, awesome week. You know how to reach me. So my number is 239-851-4600 if I could add value to anything you're doing. All right. Be
Thanks,
cool
Danny.
and be careful out there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Denny.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.